When you open up After Effects, if it looks like this and you're still using one of the default After Effects workspaces, then you might want to think about customizing it to better suit your needs. So let me show you how to do that. So this is the default workspace. There are others under Window and then Workspace that you can try out, but let's create our own. So starting with the default workspace, I'm just going to go and open up a lot of different scripts, extensions, and plugins that I frequently use. And these might just open up in separate panels, or After Effects might start to dock them. But let's just get everything we want opened. You can also open other things that are part of After Effects, like brushes or paint or something like that. Those are not things that I use, and I think I have everything that I need After Effects wise already open. So these floating panels really drive me crazy because they're always getting in the way and you're always having to move them. So I'm just going to find homes for all of these different floating panels. So to do that, I'm just going to grab from where the name is and then drag it, and you can see these highlighted areas, and that's going to be where you can drop them. So I'm just going to create a new panel over here, drop that down there. I would like motion to be above Overlord, so let's just drop it above, not like that, like that. And let's throw GIF gun over here. So I want Limber to be in the same tab as motion, so I'm just going to drag it up right next to the name motion. And same with joysticks and sliders. Alright, and now I can kind of resize the panels. You can shift them around if you want one to be on top. And if you forgot any, you can always go grab them. This is how I want my workspace to look, and I want it to look like this every time I open After Effects. I don't want to have to rearrange every time I open up a new project. If yours doesn't look like that, that's totally fine. I would not expect it to, because you might not have all the same plugins that I do, and that's totally fine. You don't need them for this class. So once you get your workspace in the way that you like it, then you want to go up to Window, Workspace, and then Save as New Workspace. Then you can just title this, really creative, My Workspace, and then just hit OK. And then once you go under Window, Workspace, just go and check My Workspace, and then it will be set to your saved layout. If you realize you need to make some changes and you want to save that into your workspace, you can do that right here. Or if you've messed things up and want to go back to the way that it was in your saved layout, then you can do that here. And you can create different workspaces for different tasks or different kinds of projects. If you like to switch between workspaces, there are these handy little buttons up here where you can quickly switch between workspaces. And you can click these arrows to edit which ones show up in this bar. Within preferences, there are a bunch of different things that you can go in and change. I'll show you a couple that I like to have changed. So for example, if you create a shape layer, a lot of times the anchor point will not be in the center of the shape layer because it's centering it in the middle of the composition. But I find that a lot of times I want the anchor point to actually be in the center of the shape. Now you can always use a plugin to center it, or you can use the pan behind tool, which is also Y on the keyboard, and then hold down Command to snap it into place, either in the center or any one of the corners or edges. But if you're sick of doing that, you can change the default. So under After Effects, Preferences, and then General, we just want to turn on this checkbox that says Center Anchor Point in New Shape Layers. So now when I make a shape layer, you see how that anchor point automatically jumps into the center of the shape. Another thing you might want to change is the way that motion paths work. So for example, if I was going to animate this little square, something like that, you can see with this motion path that After Effects automatically likes to make a nice curvy line. Now sometimes that can be nice, but sometimes it's not so nice, and then you have to go in and go down to the Convert Vertex tool and zap those points so that it becomes straight. So if you don't want to have to do that because you usually prefer it to be linear and would rather change it back if you wanted it to be smooth, well, there's something you can change in preferences so you don't have to keep doing that. So under Preferences, General, you can check this box that says Default Spatial Interpolation to Linear. And now let's see what that does. So let's just animate this shape. Now you can see that this one just went straight to this point and then straight to that point. It didn't make a curvy line. Now if I wanted to make a curvy line, I could always use this tool to add handles. One other thing to make sure of in Preferences is under Autosave. I think that Autosave is set up by default, but there's really nothing less efficient than losing a bunch of work and time that you've put into that work when something crashes or the power goes out or something like that. So make sure that Autosave is turned on. You can even set it to less than 20 minutes if you feel like you make a lot of progress in 20 minutes and you're not willing to lose that much if something went wrong. And I think it's easy to just have it saved next to the project if you've organized your project folders similar to what I have. Another tip to optimize your workflow is in the character panel. So any fonts that you often use, just give them a star, and then instead of searching through all of your fonts, you can just click this little star button. There they are.